My wife cheated on me with her boss, then stole $250, $0 I inherited, claiming it was a joint investment. But the worst part is I just discovered she's been secretly planning to claim half our $1 million house in a legal battle. I feel completely betrayed. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get like this, but here I am, sitting in my living room staring at my phone in disbelief. The most shocking thing, it wasn't just the fact that my wife had been cheating on me with her boss. No, that was bad enough. But then I found out she stole $250,000 I inherited, claiming it was a joint investment, and she's been secretly planning to claim half of our house in some legal battle. It's like my entire world just collapsed in a matter of days. Let me back up a little. And I had been together for over 10 years. We met in college, and for the most part, I thought we had a pretty stable, normal life. I worked my ass off as an engineer, and she was a marketing exec at a pretty big firm. We bought a nice house in a decent neighborhood, about $1 million worth according to the appraisal. We had dreams, plans, a future, or so I thought. Things started to feel off about 6 months ago. Became more distant, more secretive. She'd leave her phone on silent all the time, and I'd catch her deleting messages or hiding her screen when I walked into the room. Small things at first. She'd come home late from work, make excuses about client dinners, conference calls, or work emergencies. But I noticed she was acting differently, more irritable, snapping at me over nothing. She'd lie about where she was, who she was with. It was subtle, but enough to make me suspicious. Then last week I found her phone lying on the couch, unlocked. I saw a string of texts between her and this guy named Mark, her boss. The texts weren't just professional. They were flirty, suggestive. She was talking about meeting up after hours, sending pictures of herself in lingerie. My stomach dropped. I felt sick. I had to know what was really going on, so I started digging. That's when I discovered she'd been seeing Mark for months. Not just for sex, but apparently they'd been having a full-blown affair. I saw receipts, hotel bills, receipts for gifts, even explicit photos she'd sent him. The worst part. She told me she was working late or at a conference or some stupid excuse. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I felt like a fool. All those years, all those plans, and she was screwing her boss behind my back. But it didn't stop there. I remembered that I had recently received my inheritance, about $250, $0 from my grandma's estate. I'd kept it in a separate account, planning to use it for a house renovation or maybe a big trip someday. But I noticed some strange transactions. Large withdrawals, transfers to her account, and sudden deposits from joint investments she claimed we made together. I looked closer and realized she'd been lying the entire time. She'd taken that inheritance, claiming it was a joint investment, and now she was using it to fund her secret life. I confronted her last night. I'd had enough. I found her in the kitchen, pretending to be busy making coffee. I slammed the phone on the table and showed her the evidence. Her face turned pale, then flushed with anger. She started lying, saying I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was overreacting. She told me she loved me, that Mark was just a fling, that she'd never meant to hurt me. But her excuses sounded hollow. I could see through her bullshit. She's always been good at lying, but I knew she'd been planning something even worse. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, and confusion all at once. How could she do this to me? After everything we'd built. I thought about the money she stole, how she's been sneaking around, lying day after day. It felt like my entire life was a lie. I was angry at her, but more than that, I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, why I was enough, but deep down I knew the truth. She never loved me the way I loved her. She was just using me. Now I'm sitting here trying to process it all. I've started to plan my next steps. I know I can't trust her anymore. The house, the money, everything is on the table. I want to take control, to make her pay for what she's done. I've decided I'm going to fight her in court over the house. I've got enough evidence of her lies and her theft, and I want her to understand that betrayal has consequences. I don't want her to get away with it. Not this time. But I also feel lost. The pain of betrayal runs deep. I keep thinking about the moments we shared, how she used to be so different, so charming, so loving. Now she's just a stranger hiding behind lies. I never thought I'd be the guy to get cheated on, especially not after 10 years. But here I am, trying to piece together what's left of my life, wondering how I got so blind and what I do next. After last night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying every moment, every word she said during the confrontation. I had to face the reality that had been planning her exit for a long time, and I was just too blind to see it. The worst part, the money she stole, inheritance, was just the tip of the iceberg. Now I realize she's been scheming to take half of our house, and she's got the legal papers to back it up. I started digging into the house's legal documents early this morning. Turns out had been secretly talking to a lawyer for months, probably since she started planning her betrayal. I found emails, drafts of legal notices, and even a few signed documents. She's been preparing for a fight, and I get the sinking feeling she's not planning to go down without a fight. She's always been bitchy, manipulative, and she knows how to spin her lies. Now I see she's been playing the long game, hiding her true intentions behind a fake smile and a "we're a team" attitude. I decided I needed to get my own legal advice. I contacted a lawyer I found through a friend, someone who specializes in property disputes and family law. When I laid out everything, the affair, the stolen inheritance, her plans to claim half the house, the lawyer's tone turned serious. She told me I had a solid case to prove my ownership of the house, and that's plan to claim half was likely just a bluff, but I'd need to act fast. The legal battle could get ugly, especially if decided to fight dirty. That's when I started to realize how much I'd been taken for a ride. She's been lying so convincingly, I almost believed her. She's always been good at that, lying about where she was, who she was with, even about her feelings. But now I see her true face, a manipulative, selfish woman who's been scheming behind my back for months. She's convinced herself she's entitled to everything, that her lies will get her what she wants. She's even been planting seeds with her friends, telling them I'm abusive or controlling, anything to make herself look like the victim. I decided I had to prepare for the worst. I started gathering evidence, texts, emails, bank statements, anything that could prove her deception and her theft of the inheritance. I also made copies of all the property documents, the deeds, the mortgage papers. I want to be ready to fight her in court. I don't want her to walk away with half my house just because she's good at lying and manipulating the legal system. I've heard stories of women doing this, and I refuse to let her win without a fight. Meanwhile, I've been feeling more angry than ever. It's not just the betrayal, it's the sense of loss. I lost my trust in someone I loved and believed in. I see now how she always played the victim whenever things didn't go her way, how she'd twist stories, lie convincingly, and make me doubt myself. I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting, maybe I was too paranoid. But no, this is real. She's been planning this for a long time, and I'm just now catching up. I also found out she's been secretly talking to a real estate lawyer about how to claim half the house. I saw some emails where she's asking about legal procedures, how to split the property, how to avoid paying me anything. It's clear she's been planning her escape, and I can't let her get away with it. I've got to stand my ground, even if it means going through a hell of a legal fight. I know she's bitchy and manipulative, but I'm not backing down. I want her to understand that betrayal has consequences, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect what's mine. I also realized she's been secretly draining our joint accounts, funneling money into her own, and even trying to hide some of her assets. I found suspicious transfers just a few days ago. She's been trying to cover her tracks, but I've got the bank statements to prove it. I feel so betrayed, so furious. How could she do this? How could she lie so convincingly? It's like she's been living a double life, and I was just too blind to see it. Tonight, I plan to confront her again, but this time with the legal documents and proof of her schemes. I want her to see that I'm serious, that I won't be played like a fool anymore. I also want to make her understand that I'm not going to let her walk away with my house or my money. I'll fight her in court if I have to. I don't care about winning or losing anymore. What matters is that she knows I'm aware of her lies and her treachery, that she can't manipulate her way out of this. Honestly, I don't know how to feel right now. Part of me is numb, part of me is furious, and part of me just wants to crawl into a hole and forget everything. I loved her, believed in us, and now I see her for what she really is, a bitchy, selfish woman who only cared about herself. I'm trying to find strength, but it's hard. I feel like I've been cheated out of everything I worked for, and the worst part is knowing she planned it all along. I'm not sure what's worse, the betrayal or the fact that I didn't see it coming. This morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept circling back to everything I discovered yesterday. Her affair, the stolen inheritance, her plans to claim half the house. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her manipulations. It's like she's been playing a long game, and I was just too stupid or too trusting to see it. The anger inside me is boiling over, but beneath that, there's this crushing sense of betrayal that just won't go away. I spent hours going through every piece of evidence I collected. I pulled out all the bank statements, the emails, the legal documents I found online. I needed to understand exactly how deep her plans ran. Turns out, she's been talking to a lawyer for months, probably since she started planning her exit. I found drafts of legal notices, emails about how to split the property, and even some signed papers that look like she's already filed something with the court. It's clear she's been preparing for a fight and she's confident she can pull it off. I met with a lawyer this afternoon. It was a long, tense meeting. I explained everything, her affair, the inheritance she stole, her plan to claim half the house. The lawyer listened carefully, then explained my options. She said I have a strong case to prove I'm the sole owner of the house, especially since I can show the inheritance money was in my name alone, and that I never agreed to any joint investment. She also warned me that might try to drag this out in court, bringing up false accusations or trying to claim that I was abusive or controlling, classic manipulation tactics. What really struck me was how she emphasized the importance of gathering more concrete evidence. I need to document everything, more texts, emails, bank transactions, anything that can prove deception. I also need to get my hands on any legal filings she's already made. The lawyer told me I should be prepared for her to spin stories, lie, or even turn the legal battle into a messy spectacle. But she assured me that with enough proof, I'd have a good shot at keeping my house and stopping her from claiming my inheritance. I can't help but feel a mixture of relief and dread. Relief because I now have a plan, a way to fight back. Dread because I realize just how deep her lies go and how much she's been scheming behind my back. I keep thinking about her bitchy attitude, how she always played the victim when things didn't go her way. Now I see she's just a manipulative woman who's been planning her escape for months. It's disgusting, honestly. I trusted her, and she used that trust to screw me over. As I was going through her emails, I found some messages where she's asking about how to split the property, how to avoid paying me anything, even how to hide some assets. She's been talking to this lawyer about the legal side of things. It's clear she's trying to cover her tracks, but I've got enough in writing to blow her plans apart. I also found some receipts for the money she transferred from my inheritance account into her own. She claims it was a joint investment, but I never agreed to that. I was planning to use that money to fix up the house, maybe move somewhere nicer, but now it's gone, and she's trying to pretend it was always ours. I've decided I'm not going to let her get away with it. I'm going to fight her in court, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep my house and my inheritance. I want her to understand she can't manipulate her way out of this. I've never been a confrontational guy, but this situation has changed me. I feel like I'm waking up from a long, terrible dream. I see her for what she really is, a selfish, manipulative bitch who's been using me all along. I'm done being the naive husband who believed her lies. Tonight, I plan to confront her again, but this time with even more evidence. I want her to see that I'm serious. I want her to realize the game is over. I don't care if she tries to spin stories or cry crocodile tears. I've got the proof, and I won't let her gaslight me anymore. I want her to understand that her lies have consequences, and I'm ready to fight to protect what's mine. The betrayal cuts deep, and I know this legal battle will be ugly, but I'm determined to come out on top. Honestly, I feel exhausted but also strangely relieved. I've been carrying this secret, this burden, for too long. Now that I know the truth, I can't unsee it. I see her for what she is, a selfish, bitchy woman who's been scheming behind my back. I've learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But I also know I have to stay strong for myself and for what's left of what I built. I don't want her to win, and I won't let her take everything I worked for. The fight is just beginning, but I'm ready for it. Tonight, I sat in the living room, staring at the legal documents spread out on the table, feeling a strange mixture of anger and resolve. I had spent the entire day gathering every shred of proof I could find, screenshots, emails, bank statements, and I was ready to confront again. I knew she'd be pretending to be innocent, as she always did when cornered, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out this time. When she came home, her bitchy attitude was immediately apparent. She was trying to act normal, acting like everything was fine, like she hadn't been caught red-handed. I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with a fake smile. I didn't bother wasting time with pleasantries. I pulled out the evidence and laid it on the table. "Look at this," I said, voice cold but steady. "All these messages, your lawyer's emails, the bank transfers. You've been planning this, haven't you? Since the day I inherited that money, you've been scheming to take half my house and everything else I have." Her eyes narrowed and she crossed her arms defensively. "You're overreacting, James. You're just paranoid. I've done nothing wrong. All those emails are innocent. You're just seeing what you want to see." I shook my head slowly. "No, I see everything now. The affair, the stolen inheritance, the legal documents you're trying to file. You've been lying to me from the start. You've been planning to screw me over and walk away with half of everything. That's not love, that's greed." She started to get bitchy, the usual defensive tone. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. Mark is just a boss. It's nothing serious. And the money, it was a joint investment like I told you. You're twisting everything." I could feel the rage boiling inside me. "Stop lying. I have the proof. You've been draining our accounts, transferring money and hiding assets. You're a manipulative bitch, and I'm sick of your lies. I won't let you get away with this." That's when she started crying, fake tears streaming down her face. "James, I love you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You're just overreacting because you're insecure. I swear I never wanted to hurt you." I looked at her with disgust. "You're a master manipulator. I believed in us, in our future. But now I see that all of that was just a lie. You're just a selfish woman who's been using me. I'm done playing your game." I told her I was going to file for legal separation. I told her I'd fight her in court to keep my house and my inheritance. She looked panicked, trying to come up with more lies, but I was done listening. I knew her game, and I wasn't going to be part of it anymore. I told her she could keep her lies and her manipulations. I was done trusting her. As she stormed out of the room, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with heartbreak. I had finally opened my eyes to her true nature. I realized I'd been a fool to think she loved me. Now, I had to focus on protecting what was mine, my house, my inheritance, my dignity. I knew the fight wouldn't be easy, and I knew she'd try everything to turn things around, but I was ready. I'd fight for what's right, for what's mine, and I'd make sure she paid for the betrayal she inflicted on me. That night, I stayed up late, drafting a timeline of everything I'd uncovered. I knew this was just the beginning and the days ahead would be messy. But I also knew I'd finally taken control of my life again. I'd learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. But I'd also learned that sometimes, the only way to move forward is to face the truth head-on, no matter how painful it is. And that's exactly what I was going to do. The next day, I woke up feeling like I'd finally taken a step out of the fog. I had everything laid out: proof of her affair, the bank statements showing the stolen inheritance, the legal documents hinting at her plans to claim half the house. I felt a strange sense of clarity, like I'd been blind for so long, but now the pieces were falling into place. I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for her to escalate things legally. I had to act fast. First thing I did was call the lawyer. Again, I wanted to get a concrete plan in motion. She advised me to file for an emergency injunction to prevent from transferring or claiming any part of the property until the case was settled. That made sense. If I was already talking to lawyers and filing paperwork, I needed to be proactive. I also started gathering more evidence, screenshots of her texts, copies of her emails, notes of her conversations with her lawyer. While I was doing that, kept trying to call me. I didn't answer. I knew her game. She'd try to guilt-trip me, cry, or manipulate me into dropping the case. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I was done being played. I wanted her to see that I was serious about protecting what's mine. Later that afternoon, I met with my lawyer again and formally filed for the injunction. The process was quick, but it made everything real. The court issued a temporary order that barred from making any legal claims on the house or transferring any assets. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. For the first time, I had some control back. That evening, I sat down and drafted a detailed timeline of everything I'd uncovered. I wanted to be ready for whatever she threw at me next. I also reached out to a private investigator I'd heard about from a friend. I figured if I was planning to go to court and claim half the house, I needed to know if she was hiding anything else, like more assets or even new lovers. The investigator was expensive, but I figured it was worth it. I had to have every piece of the puzzle. The more I dug into her plans, the angrier I got. She's been so bitchy about everything, lying, manipulating, twisting stories. Yet she's the one who's been scheming behind my back all along. I kept thinking about how she'd always act like the victim whenever I questioned her, how she'd cry and say I was overreacting. Now I see she's just a selfish, manipulative woman who's been using me from the start. I also spent some time reflecting on my own feelings. I was angry, yes, but also deeply hurt. I loved her once, believed in us. Now I realize that was just a fantasy. She never loved me the way I thought. She just wanted to use what I had, my money, my house, my trust, and throw me aside when she was done. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I know I have to accept it if I want to move forward. In the quiet moments, I kept asking myself what I could have done differently. Was I too trusting? Did I ignore the warning signs? The truth is, I think I was just naive. I never imagined she'd betray me like this, especially after all those years. But now I see her for what she really is, a selfish, bitchy woman who's been planning her escape for months. Tonight, I plan to have one last conversation with her, this time very different from before. I'll lay out the facts, show her the evidence, and make it clear that I'm serious about fighting her legally. I want her to understand that she can't manipulate her way out of this anymore. I want her to see that her lies no longer work on me. I've finally taken control of my life again, and I'm not going to let her take anything more than she already has. As I sit here writing this, I'm overwhelmed with a mix of exhaustion and determination. I know the road ahead is going to be rough, and I might lose some things I care about, my house, maybe even my peace of mind. But I also know that I won't let her win. I've learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also makes you stronger if you fight back. I will see this through. I will protect what's mine, and I'll make her see that her lies and manipulations can't destroy me. I refuse to let her get away with the damage she's caused. The truth is finally coming out, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. Tonight, I sat alone in the dark, reflecting on everything that's happened over the past few weeks. It's been of shock, anger, heartbreak, and now, a strange sense of clarity. I finally feel like I've taken back some control, like I've started to rebuild what she tried to destroy. But it's not just about the legal fight or the money anymore. It's about realizing what I truly value and learning that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Still, I've come to understand that sometimes the only way forward is to face the truth head-on, no matter how painful the legal battle is. I managed to get a court order freezing her assets and preventing her from claiming any part of the house. I've presented the evidence, her texts, emails, bank statements, and it's clear she underestimated me. She thought she could manipulate her way to a victory, but I fought back with everything I had. I hired a pie to uncover any hidden assets or new lovers, and sure enough, she was trying to hide a few more bank accounts and some expensive jewelry. Thanks to that, I now have even more leverage. Throughout this process, I've learned a lot about betrayal and human nature. Was always bitchy, manipulative, and selfish, but I never saw how deep her deception ran. She was willing to destroy everything we built, our home, my inheritance, even my trust, just to get what she wanted. I used to ask myself what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough. But the truth is, it wasn't about me. It was about her greed and her need to control everything. She's a classic manipulator, and I was just too naive to see it. In the end, I managed to keep the house. The court ruled in my favor, citing my sole ownership and the lack of any legal agreement giving her rights. She was furious, screaming and crying, but I stayed calm. I knew I had the evidence, and I knew I had fought hard for what's right. I've cut her out of my life completely now. I changed the locks, closed all joint accounts, and made sure she couldn't manipulate her way into anything else. Looking back, I realize I've learned some hard lessons. Trust has to be earned, not given blindly. People can hide their true selves behind a pretty face or a fake smile. And no matter how much you love someone, betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. But I also learned that I am stronger than I thought. I didn't let her destroy me or take everything I worked for. I fought and I won. Not just in court, but in reclaiming my dignity and self-respect. Now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life. I've started therapy to process everything, because betrayal leaves scars that don't heal overnight. I've also been reconnecting with friends and family, trying to piece together what's left of my support system. It's not easy, and I still feel the pain of her betrayal every day, but I know I'll get through it. I've realized I don't need someone who manipulates and lies to be happy. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the small signs of deception. When something feels off, it probably is. Protect yourself, financially, emotionally, legally. And don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. The truth might hurt, but it's better to face it than live in a lie. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals who's truly worthy of your trust. I want to end by saying that life goes on. No matter how shattered you feel, you can rebuild. Sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most about ourselves. I've learned that I'm capable of more than I ever thought, more resilience, more strength, more self-awareness. And I know now that I don't need a manipulative, selfish partner to be happy. I just need to be honest with myself and keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you get betrayed, you still have yourself, and that's the most valuable thing of all.